Speaking of the pyramids, did you guys see they were doing some thermal imaging and they found there's like some big hidden like chamber? If it's grain storage, I will die.
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here is your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty, Marc Clair.
All right, guys, we are back, and we just finished watching our fourth GOP debate. And, we are slaving away, quite literally, at these things. One way you can help ease the pain a little bit is by shopping over at LibertyManiacs.com, where our man Dan McCall has the coolest array of Liberty t-shirts and political gear this side of the Mississippi, no matter which side of it you're on. And you can use the discount code Lions of Liberty to get 10% off your entire order. Please do check out LibertyManiacs.com, an amazing sponsor during this, I don't want to call it an amazing election season, but it's some kind of election season. Here to discuss the latest GOP debate, I've got a good little crew of libertarians who have been known to drink liquor from time to time, sometimes in their living rooms, sometimes on a Skype call as they are with me right now. First, I'm going to bring in my man, John Odermatt, author of Felony Friday and so many other things over in Pittsburgh. What's going on? Are you still awake?
I'm still awake. Still, that was a thrilling debate. I'm fired up to talk about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Who else we got? Let me see. Howie Snowdon, Leesburg, Virginia. How are things?
Great. That debate was way better than that last CNBC one, and Rand had a great night.
All right, so we've got a really positive attitude so far, which I think I have somebody who might be able to bring it down just a tad. So Rico in Ohio. I don't even know if you're in Ohio.
You pegged me to a T. I feel like
not as enthusiastic.
I have the energy of Ben Carson right now.
Are your eyes? See, I couldn't tell if it was my live stream on foxbusiness.com, like that would pause on Ben Carson when he was blinking, or if he literally had his eyes closed for 10 minutes at a time. Can anybody shed light on that?
According to the immediate feedback from the Fox News pundits afterwards, Ben Carson won the debate running away. So
how is this? Let's just start with that.
You know what? I didn't think he did, but to be honest, I kind of zoned out every time he started talking. I don't know what he said at all.
Maybe he's just hypnoptizing us.
Maybe he's a wizard too, and he's hypnotizing people. I don't know.
I would start checking NBA box scores every time he started talking because he was boring.
Well, according to the Drudge poll, the results so far, he didn't win. He's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, like fifth.
So who said he won? Fox Business? Like Neil Cavuto said
Fox
it?
Business. Like, they cut to the pundits at the desk right afterward, like Charlie Gasparino and the two chicks that were doing the kitty debate. And they all said, yeah, Carson won, but Gasparino went right in and chewed out. He was chewing out Jeb Bush and Kasich for knowing nothing about banking, which we can talk about that later.
If Carson was right there with him, they might have been afraid they were going to get stabbed or hit with a hammer or something.
That's possible.
Oh boy!
I think it was pretty obvious to me who lost the debate.
Okay, let's start with that. Let's start with just who's the worst.
Can we talk about what we're drinking first?
Oh yeah, I apologize. You're right. I normally do go around and verify what everyone is drinking, really just to make sure you are all drinking, because really this show's not going to be fun if you're not. So let's start with me. I've got. Because it's a crisp 60 degrees out here in Los Angeles this week, so I decided to start whipping out the heartwarming, literally, fall drinks, and I've got a nice little warm rum and cider going with a hefty amount of cinnamon that I heaped on top. Probably, I'm actually choking on it a little bit, so I might have gone overboard, but that's what I'm drinking. Odie, what about you?
Got a nice lukewarm Guinness and some Dad's Hat Pennsylvania rye whiskey. So,
do you prefer it lukewarm, like room temperature?
No, it's just been sitting out a little.
Well,
while.
No, I mean, because like in England, they do actually like intentionally drink it that way.
It's really not bad. It doesn't have to be ice cold to drink it.
If you're gonna drink a warm beer, it should be Guinness, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Cheers to that,
Howie. What's happening in your mouth?
I'm just drinking Bud Light, but I'm almost out because I drank every time they said Clinton.
You would have been done by the kitty debate by Chris Christie. He mentioned it every second of the. Well, we should actually talk about that first, but first we'll hear what our legal counsel, Mr. Rico, is drinking.
Well, you stole my drink because I'm also drinking
Stole your drink.
rum and cider.
How can I steal it? This is like the intellectual property argument. I didn't actually take it from you. You still have it in your possession.
Yes. Okay. Well, good point. We're drinking the same drink.
All right. Fantastic. So let's just start off because I don't want to just forget these kitty debate guys. So let's spend 30 seconds talking about them. And did either of you guys watch the kitty debate? I know Howie did. Me and Howie were on there blogging away and drinking away, and I wasn't drinking yet. I know how he was.
I saw like the last 2 or 3 minutes, and
you saw nothing.
I had forgotten, but was once again disappointed when I did not see Lindsey Graham.
No, he lost. He's out. They didn't even. He didn't qualify for the kid debate this time
because
he's polling
0%.
Literally polling at 0%.
He had a commercial between the debates, so I have no idea how he could afford that.
Yeah, what? I didn't see that commercial because I was just watching the stream online, which was commercial free. So, which you'd think they'd want to show me commercials since I'm watching for free, but I don't get the logic there.
Well,
but
he's entitled to 12 free minutes on NBC since Donald Trump was on Saturday Night Live.
I've seen that article going around, and I mean, logically, based on election laws, they
have to petition for it, but I think he would be a fantastic guest host on.
It's
Lindsey Graham.
12 minutes on every NBC network. So it could be. I don't know.
How is it only 12 minutes? Because wasn't Donald on?
That's all he was actually on.
Oh, if you add it up every second. But it's not like he was. I don't know. I didn't watch it, so you guys can tell me. But
I watched we got to watch the opening because
I did watch that. I looked that up on Hulu. That's all I cared about.
That's all that matters.
If you have not seen Larry David as Bernie Sanders, you have not lived, because it's amazing. It's absolutely incredible.
I was kind of hoping he would be at this debate and start heckling Donald. I
would vote for Larry David.
If Larry David himself ran, I would disregard his political positions and just vote for him and support him regardless, because it would be entertaining and funny and awesome, which is really, at this point, that's kind of almost all you can ask for out of politics. It's kind of like the best you can hope for. If you're not going to get a good result, and maybe we will, I doubt it though, at least we can hope for a funny
What
time.
are the odds of a good result?
Very, very low. Almost zero.
Actually, you know what? I was looking up betting odds on the on the Republican candidates today. And
this is one podcast after Brian McWilliams accused you of having a gambling problem and you denying it, but go ahead.
I thought it was pretty interesting. Rand Paul's odds were ridiculous. It was, here, I can pull it up right now. So the Republican presidential nominee odds, Rubio is by far and away the front runner at plus 120. Mitt Romney and Rand Paul had the same odds at plus 10,000, meaning if you bet $100 on
Mitt
Rand
Romney.
Paul to win.
So how would one place a bet on this?
He has the same odds as someone who's not running?
Yes, that's how
Interesting.
low the gambling world thinks of Rand Paul's presidential odds. So he's plus 10,000, and in comparison, Chris Christie's plus 1,600. Donald Trump is plus 315. So quite the array. So Rand Paul might be a good bet after his performance today.
Based on those odds, still not a good bet. Based on the fact that look, I think we can all agree this is definitely. Oh, not only Rand's best debate, maybe the best debate. And we're judging on a scale here, okay? Because none of the debates are what I would ideally like to see candidates asking about. Ideally, I like to see, these candidates asked about if they believe in individual rights and, stuff like that. And at least if they're going to ask these specific questions about what they're going to cut and the economy, they should ask a question, let every single person answer the same question so we all know what they think about it, and then let everybody have a chance to respond. But instead we get a question and then 3 of them answer it and then we get a different question. It's just ridiculous. So we're never going to get the ideal debate, or at least not in this election cycle anyway. But in terms of the debates we've seen so far, do you guys agree this is the best to run, relatively speaking?
Oh,
yeah, I think it had the most amount of actual content of talking about policy, economic policy and foreign policy, and not just personal character attacks or Trump. And there was that one debate, I forget which one, where Trump and Carly Fiorina went back and forth for like 15 minutes talking about their past history, running businesses. So yeah, it was actually nice to hear some actual
and where they met Vladimir Putin.
Right, exactly. But I think we're moving in the right direction in the debate. So maybe by the time we get to debate number 25, we'll actually have an actual real debate.
Well, hopefully by the next debate, some of these people will. Well, it's probably not going to happen, but
well, be careful what you wish for, because some of those people could be Rand.
Well,
but we'll see.
Possibly.
If I was John Kasich, I think I'd pack it up after
tonight. He did. I thought he did terrible. He just had a bad look throughout.
He's really looked frazzled the last couple of debates. Really just
butting
frustrated.
in at trying to butt in constantly at the beginning, and then his whole I'll pick who should get a bailout. What kind of answer was that?
did any of on that particular issue with bailing out banks? I didn't hear any candidate talk about actually, maybe the banks buying up, the good assets from a bank that failed, because that's what would happen if the government didn't step in. I mean, the whole bank wouldn't fail, just the bad investments would be liquidated. I mean,
right? Yeah, I don't think they understood the concept. I don't know what Bush's answer was. It somehow his answer included the Keystone Pipeline. I'm pretty sure.
he didn't make any progress, I don't think, towards reviving his campaign. I don't see how it's going to make any kind of a comeback.
No, I mean, you see articles out there about how Rand is done. You want to talk about someone that's done? I think Jeb Bush is done. Done.
I think so too.
I mean, what does he inspire in anybody? And maybe that doesn't matter if you have the establishment behind you, but from stuff I've been reading, I don't think he has the establishment behind him. Like, his high-level guys are all pulling out of his campaign. So, I mean, and who did he say one thing of substance tonight? And you know what the thing is about Jeb? He doesn't come across as that terrible of a guy. Like, I don't hate him. Like, there's other candidates I really, really dislike. Although Christie in the kitty debate tonight, I usually dislike him. He actually came across okay in the kitty debate. For Chris Christie, we have to realize we're always judging these things in a scale here. But if it wasn't for all the terrible things I know he thinks and believes, I wouldn't think he was that bad. But they didn't get into the bad stuff really too much. What was I talking about again?
Jeb.
Okay.
Well, Jeb, I think one of the worst things, if we're just talking about Jeb for a little bit here, when they asked him the most dangerous, you gotta love this question. What's the most dangerous thing to the United States? Most dangerous, possible thing that could happen? And of course, Jeb goes into Islamic extremist, a terrorist attack. Playing right from the Dick Cheney and neoconservative playbook. So that's all he has to fall back on, really, is just fear mongering. That's his base. That's all he knows. So I mean,
everyone up there besides Rand was just fear mongering.
Yeah, Rubio went into that when he got into the kind of back and forth with Rand about it. He went right into the whole fear mongering thing too, and of course the crowd goes wild about it.
Carly Fiorina too. She sounds like she's going to start World War III.
Oh man, that I tell you, she sounded good for a while. She's really good when it comes to talking about sort of domestic free market type stuff. She always tries to say, let's look to the market for this stuff. And then she loves, I feel like some advisor she has that said, look, crony capitalism, it's what all the young kids are talking about. Make sure you mention it, because she brings it up all the time. And yet, I don't know how sincere she is about actually ending crony capitalism, but her rhetoric is decent on that stuff. And then she gets to foreign policy, and suddenly she's like, not only would I not talk to Vladimir Putin, I would put the missiles back in Ukraine, and I would bring in troops everywhere, and I would surround Russia, and I would bring our subs in. I'd pretty much do some aggressive stuff. And you're like, okay, so you would start World War III, despite your love for the free market. You would end our life as we know it by igniting a war with Russia. That sounds like a fantastic idea. She scares the crap out of me, actually, because she would be seen, I think, as a woman in some way. You're not seen as scary warmonger. I mean, maybe I'm being sexist. I don't know. I think that I'm talking about, I think other people might see as sexistly, where you might, if Rick Santorum and Lindsey Graham are saying this stuff, we're like, oh, get away from that guy. But if Carly's saying it, everyone's like, it's Carly. It's okay.
Or just look at Hillary as the biggest hawk in the race. Do you think that
Carly might be now? I don't know. I mean, this was
Carly
insane.
might be.
This was
Do
insane.
women have to put on a more hawkish front to be taken seriously? I don't know.
That one point where Carly was talking about all the groups she would arm. I'll arm the Kurds, arm the Egyptians, or arm the Emiratis, arm the Egyptians. She said Egyptians twice, I'm pretty sure. But she named every Middle Eastern country. And that had to be her just trolling for some military industrial complex dollars, I would assume.
I'm really glad that Rand pointed out the fact that everyone keeps saying about the no-fly zone over Syria. They're talking about shooting down Russian planes. Like, are you kidding me?
That was a great point by him. Yeah.
And he's the only one that thinks it's crazy. I mean, everyone else thinks it's totally like a good idea. Yeah, let's just go start a new no-fly zone and shoot down Russian planes, and we'll see what happens.
I'm like, what do people think they mean when they say no-fly zone? It's like ISIS doesn't have planes. We're seriously.
Yeah, I mean, the no-fly zone is clearly only for the Russians. If we're gonna have a no-fly zone in Syria, I mean, I guess you could talk about. I mean, Assad has an air force, but I mean, they're talking about the Russians. They didn't start talking about it until Russia started sending planes in. So it's very clear to anyone following what's going on that they're talking. They may as well insert the phrase "Let's go shoot down Russian planes," but saying that sounds bad, so they just say, "Oh yeah, we'll put a no-fly zone in. Should be no problem."
Give Donald Trump props for wanting to just let Russia fight ISIS and stay out of it.
So that's the interesting question: is Donald Trump the best non-Rand Paul candidate on foreign policy?
He was against Iraq and Libya. I mean, he does say some stupid things about foreign policy sometimes, but a lot of the stuff he says, I'm behind. Well,
what's his point in the first hour of the debate seemed to be contradicting his point in the second hour where, at first he said, well, we have to have the strongest military, we have to build it up and make it the greatest that it could possibly be. So he's talking about pouring all this money into in the military, but what are you going to be doing if you're building up the military that much? I mean, is it just going to be sitting at home? Probably not. So
that would be cheaper, at least.
No, it's all going to go to the wall.
I think Trump. I mean, Trump's like the ultimate populist. He just latches on to issues. He knows that people want a strong military, so he says strong military. He knows that the most people are kind of war weary in this country and sick and tired of nation building. So he says that we should stop nation building and we shouldn't be involved in Syria. Let the Russians handle it. I don't think he actually really has any principle or really cares. He just wants to be president. And I think he's going to say anything he can to get it, and it's working.
So let's talk about this Donald Trump thing a little bit, because I know you've looked into this. You've read Scott Adams' blog, heard a couple of interviews. He's, of course, the creator of Dilbert, and he's talked about this a little bit, about how Donald Trump is using really extremely genius, brilliant tactics that actually, you might even call them hypnotizing, the way that he uses certain key phrases and key words and says certain things, not necessarily because they make sense or because he believes them, but because he knows what the effect that they're going to have on the audience. Do you want to touch on that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done a whole lot of research on this, but
at least as much as me. So
yeah, just quick story. The first I heard about this was a podcast between Tim Ferriss and Scott Adams, as Mark said, and Scott Adams. Famous comic, obviously, with Dilbert, and he's kind of hated actually in the comic community because of his success and the way he has succeeded, and these things that a lot of people think he's crazy for the way that he has found success. But I forget the terminology for it, but visualizing things or writing things down over and over again until they come true, and using as he talked about with Tim Ferriss, using hypnosis to kind of manipulate people, I guess, really, and to use to his advantage. But a couple of things that Scott Adams talks about, and he it's this blog post. If you just Google "how to spot a wizard," it talks about
number one, pointy purple hat with stars on it.
It talks about people who use these hypnosis techniques, and funny enough, it's Tony Robbins is one of the people that teaches some of this stuff. And, Bill Clinton had ties to Tony Robbins. Donald Trump has ties to Tony Robbins. Hillary Clinton has ties to Tony Robbins. But so a couple things, I'll just name a few off. A wizard succeeds in a high-profile field without the benefit or as much talent as one would expect or should be necessary. People seem to have an irrational hatred for the wizard that is not entirely explained by the wizard's actions. Look for an inflated ego, which with an unusually strong ability to withstand withering criticism. Wizards are often more ambitious and often more aggressive. The wizard has a gift for simplification. Look at the wall. Just build a wall. Simple things.
We have no choice. Well, he said that about deporting 5 million people, not about the wall, but he does it very simplistically. We have to deport them. We have no choice. He doesn't explain why. He doesn't need to explain why. He's just stating it in a very strong way that makes people go, all right.
Check your facts. Check your facts.
Check your facts. He didn't say that once tonight, did he?
I don't think you did.
Man.
He seemed tired, even from the very beginning.
He's kind of seemed downplayed tonight compared to other debates, didn't he? The Donald kind of got, I wouldn't say the shaft, but he was literally the center in the sense that he was in the middle, but he didn't seem to be the center of attention as much as he used to be.
Well, he doesn't interrupt too much because he doesn't have any like policy details or like know anything about anything that he can really, hold his
isn't it good for him to kind of lay low during the debate?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Make his mark in the media other ways, because then he's not getting challenged on anything. He's basically all these ancillary stories that keep him front and center, and then at the actual debate he can kind of pick and choose his spots.
Yeah, we'll have to check the time everyone talked later on, but I bet you he talked the least of anyone.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's his strategy. I think you nailed it, Rico. He's just trying to make it through the debates unscathed without being challenged, and then tomorrow morning he'll be attacking somebody. Probably Rubio.
He did have
or Rand
a couple
Paul.
funny one-liners. I forget who's. I think one was to Carly, and then one was like Kasich, like, why are we listening to him? And when he kept butting in.
Oh yeah, he said it. He said about Carly. She interrupts everybody.
Kasich was terrible at interrupting. He just had you hear like with debates, it's a lot about body posture and just the energy you're projecting, and he just came off really bad in my opinion with constant interrupting. He was slouched over.
It irritated me. Like I didn't like it. I don't know.
Yeah, and when he spoke for 2 segments and then he tried to interrupt saying, well, I need to get more time, it's like, you've already dominated the first 10 minutes of the debate. And
I was just gonna say, I've never heard someone talk for so long during a debate when Kasich was talking about banking and get absolutely zero crowd response.
He got booed at the end.
Yeah,
he said, well, you have to pick and choose who will get bailed out or who have their deposits insured or whatever he was talking about. That's the first time I've heard a boo in quite a while during a debate.
Well, the one moderator got booed when she mentioned Hillary Clinton's impressive resume.
That's the one thing Republicans seem completely united on, which I guess might explain why Chris Christie, who's been relegated down to the kiddie debate, spent literally an hour just mentioning Hillary Clinton as much as he possibly can. He kept saying, that's why I'm going to go after Hillary Clinton. No, and then he would say things like, forget our differences here. Hillary Clinton's the problem. I'm the one that can take her on. And he said the same thing literally probably 20 times during the JV
hour
debate.
Started to get really ridiculous after a while, but I still think he dominated that the kiddie debate.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I mean, if I didn't already know some terrible things that he believed about the drug war, about guns, maybe, even though he's had a few good pardons, I would almost come away from that thinking he was okay.
Does Bernie Sanders get mad listening to the Republican debates when everyone's talking about going against Hillary?
I'm waiting for a commentator to be like, Mr. Rubio, how would you feel if you had to go up against the presumed nominee, Bernie Sanders? Do you think he would just laugh like, what? No, you're serious, right? Who?
Never know. Anything could happen.
Rico, you were saying at the beginning about who you thought lost the debate?
Oh, yeah.
Remember when we had that topic and then never got to it?
Yeah, it was Kasich.
Welcome to Libertarians in the Living Room Drinking Liquor, friends. This is what happens.
I thought Kasich did horrible. I don't know if will he be in the next debate? When is the next debate? I don't know anything. I have more questions than answers. But I just can't see him getting much support after this performance for people who aren't already on the bandwagon for some reason. It seems like his supporters are probably going to jump off and try to find someone else. Bush may jump off. The Bush supporters got to jump off eventually.
The next Republican debate is actually we've got quite a respite actually, which is nice because I'm going to need it after this week. Is not until December 15th, so we got over a month to simmer in the juices of Republicanism.
All right.
I think we'll see some big changes between now and then. I think Carson's
going to drop.
Carson's going to drop. I think I don't know why Fox News was trying to hype him up after. I thought his performance was awful.
Can anyone name one Ben Carson position besides that's not on the pyramids or West Point? Like I just don't know. I couldn't tell you what he even believes in. All I can say is that he seems like a nice guy, and I can only think that that's why he is doing well in the polls. I mean, I just don't get. I can't see any other reason. He does seem like a nice guy. That's all I got, though.
Speaking of the pyramids, did you guys see they were doing some thermal imaging and they found there's like some big hidden like chamber?
I did see that.
I will die if it's grain storage. I will die.
Yeah, because it's like some thermal thing. To like, there's a weird anomaly here. It's like this heated spot that's like giving off. I mean, I don't know if grain gives off heat, but maybe compared to other things around it, it does. That would be amazing if there was grain in there.
I think I would have to vote for him.
I'm going to vote for him. If there's grain in that pyramid, I just say it right now. I'm voting for Ben Carson.
Well, Ben Carson's suspending his campaign to travel to Egypt to get to the bottom of it.
Either that or is a well-known story. I mean, I know it because you sent us out the link, but he believed that the pyramids were built to store grain.
He said that Joseph built the pyramids to. I want Howie to talk about this.
Well, that's all I know. He said that Joseph built the pyramids to store grain during
feels better coming from
period of plenty.
Seems like pretty.
I think it's from the book of Joseph. It's not like he's saying that Jesus' father Joseph built the pyramids.
Right.
Yeah.
Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
It doesn't say that in the Bible, though. He just is assuming that they had to put all that grain somewhere. It must be the pyramids.
Seems like a really difficult building to build for that.
Yeah, why not just like a regular house or something?
And he didn't think that regular Egyptians could have built them.
Let's make the most difficult building we could ever conceive to the point that people actually wonder if aliens built them and just to put grain in it.
Well, yeah, no, he thinks God helps because Egyptians couldn't do this on their own. And they're upset that he's saying that now.
Does God hate the Egyptians?
No, the Egyptians are upset that Ben Carson thinks they couldn't have done it without God's help.
Oh, are there actual Egyptians that are mad?
Yeah.
I want to see a debate between Ben Carson. Excuse me, I'm choking on my drink. Between Ben Carson and an actual Egyptian. Just any Egyptian, like a man on the street. No, fuck that guy. I work really hard. I could probably build a pyramid if I tried, and screw Ben Carson. Oh, boy.
What were some of his other great beliefs? The world is, 3,000 years old? That was one.
Yeah, do you think Rand was, so they asked Rand about, I guess he voted on something that said that he believed that humans had some contributing factor to climate change, and I think that's a vague enough statement to not care if someone votes on. I think that's a possibility. We've done a lot of activity on the planet. I'm sure it affects the climate in some way, shape, or form.
I'm sure we've had, of course we've had some effect.
I mean, there's no doubt. That's very vague, though. I mean, the extent and all that is different, but as part of his response to that, he is like, we all know the Earth is billions of years old. You got to think Ben Carson's
we
just
all know, huh?
Yeah, it's like, Rand, he didn't butt in, though. He didn't butt in to say anything.
He didn't butt in. He should have. Yeah.
I would have loved it if Ben Carson, that might have gotten in my vote. Let's list all the ways Ben Carson could get my vote, and none of them are through policy positions. One of them is through saying, no, Rand, actually, I do believe, actually, it would be a lot slower. That would be like, well, actually, Rand, I believe that it's quite possible that the Earth is merely 3,000 or 4,000 years. That's how I felt every time Ben Carson spoke. He just puts me to sleep.
Did you guys see, though, after this past week when the media was, going through his past and, revealing some of his fabrications or lies or or misleading statements, when he had a press conference. I don't know if you guys saw this video. I think I sent it out on the Liberty chain, but he got fired up, and I agree with him. He was talking about, you're going to, read through my book and talk about, it was an offered scholarship or this or that, and you're not going to question Barack Obama's sealed records. That's a valid point. I mean, I think that's a pretty good point. Even coming from Ben Carson, I think that it's something that, he had the media in a corner with that one. I mean,
and even if he is lying, Hillary Clinton is still the biggest liar that there is. I don't know why she gets to just skate on that. But.
It's true.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of ways you could call out Hillary Clinton as a liar or whatever, and really don't see it ever talked about, except on this podcast and other. I guess every conservative website probably does, but we're not.
So who's the worst Republican candidate? Like, who would Hillary Clinton defeat the easiest? Who would she have the least
these
amount
guys
of
or all of them? Because of all of them, Lindsey Graham would probably be
no, just
done.
these 8. Let's keep it to the 8 on the big boy stage tonight.
Of these guys,
I think Carson.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Because when it comes to a real campaign, like this guy just has nothing. I mean, he has nothing of substance. I mean, she would destroy him in a debate.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
She would walk circles around
especially
him.
A one-on-one debate
exactly.
between her and him. She's just she's spent a lifetime in politics.
What if it wasn't one-on-one? What if the debate was Ben Carson, Hillary Clinton, and John McAfee? Would that be the best debate you could comprehend watching?
And Gary Johnson.
No, I want to see. Here's what I want to see. I want to see Rand Paul versus Bernie Sanders versus Gary Johnson versus John McAfee. That would be the best debate of all time. Fact.
I'm pretty sure if they all lose, we could maybe arrange that.
Oh yeah.
debate.
What about a losers debate? Well, we won't call it that. By the way, speaking of losers, what about Ben Carson's comments regarding how he would deal with ISIS? I'm pretty sure his main crux was, we want to make them feel like losers. Did you guys catch that?
No.
Yeah, no, he literally said that. He said, we want to make them, they are losers, we want to make them feel like losers. And all I could think was, is he just vying to be Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense? Because I think that would be the only requirement that Donald would have, is that you agree that they're losers.
What exactly does that entail?
Well, I fell asleep after the first 10 seconds, as I do with every Ben Carson statement. So
calling them names,
couldn't tell you.
Writing them mean letters.
Dear ISIS,
parties.
You guys are really not that cool. In fact,
not invited to my birthday party.
You're not invited to my party at the pyramids to celebrate the founding of this grain. Oh my God! If that thermal imaging shows us grain, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're going to have to accept everything Ben Carson says as fact from now on, and that's going to be scary.
Yeah.
So everyone seemed to love Ted Cruz tonight.
Who's everyone?
I mean,
who's everyone?
You three plus Brian.
Oh, I thought he did.
I mean, I didn't like everything he
said.
I
wouldn't go that far.
I do think that he does a much better job than Rand Paul at selling his tax plan, just making it simple. Talking about abolishing the IRS, people like to hear that. I'm pretty sure Rand wants to do that too, but he never mentions it. He just does he breaks it down step by step on the different tax levels. It is a flat tax, which, as I think we've talked about before on this show, I don't necessarily agree with. But Ted Cruz his tax plan is not bad. He's just, his foreign policy is atrocious, but.
Yeah, well, how does he want to cut taxes and then have his sort of militaristic foreign policy? That's a question. Because while they all not they all, but a few of them have good tax plans. I mean, in theory, on paper, Rand is the only one that also includes with his good tax plan everything he's going to cut and all the things he can cut and a plan to cut things. Where these other guys just generally have like some plans to cut taxes. But really, then they still want to have military adventurism. They still want to have foreign aid. They still want to have all these other programs. And it was, this was, like we said at the top of the show, this is easily Rand's best debate by far. And it's because he was aggressive, but he didn't come across as desperate. And John Kasich, and that's where he has a difference with John Kasich, because they might have butted in just as much. I mean, I don't know if it was that much of a difference, but when John Kasich butted in, it was like, please, my campaign's dying. Please let me speak.
He reminded me of Alec Baldwin's, whoever he played on the Saturday Night Live, where he's like, I was promised time. If you guys saw that skit, no.
Oh, that was...
Jim Webb.
Jim Webb.
Yeah, that's what Kasich seemed like to me.
Yes.
Like, I was promised time. Can I speak now? And then he got in and...
Ding.
Terrible.
But. Yeah, I mean, he just seemed desperate, whereas Rand kind of picked his spots, and he picked them. I think he kind of realized that, like, look, if you're on topic and you're responding to something that concerns you, they will actually let you talk. And they did do that. And these moderators did the best job, I think, of allowing people to rebut things at certain times when it was appropriate without having, complete anarchy and trying to rein in the Kasichs of the world, which is really just John Kasich.
I think you're right, though. I think Neil does like Rand.
Well, if you go back to Ron Paul's last two campaigns, he was on the Neil Cavuto show many times, and you can just tell that Neil Cavuto isn't just sitting there. Like, a lot of times Ron Paul, beyond rambling, you can almost feel the host just rolling his eyes while Ron goes on about something. But you could always tell Neil Cavuto was engaged and was actually like wanted him on his show. And I feel like that's, and Rand's been on his show a few times too. So that's got to translate over in some way, especially because he is the lead moderator. I don't think was in, specifically in favor of Rand, but he was at least, giving him fair time, which makes it seem like he's in favor of Rand because Rand has gotten so much less than fair time from up to this point.
So what was Rand talking about when they started playing the music to go to commercial break and he kept talking? And then the music slowly faded out, and I think Cavuto asked him a question after that.
He contradicted. Trump was talking about some trade agreement with China, saying how bad of a deal it was. I forget the exact what they were talking about. And then
the TPP. Trump was just saying it's the worst deal ever. It's so bad, and China just takes advantage of us. And he didn't really say anything.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
It Rand's like, well, maybe we should point out that China's not part of this deal before we get off topic.
Oh, it was amazing because it was Trump was just in there bustering. He was trying to do the wizard thing where you say something in a strong way, you sound like you know what you're talking about. Doesn't matter if you really do, and you almost always get away with it. But Rand was like, no, I think we should probably at least point out that what this guy just said made no sense and has zero basis in reality because his whole thing was how China is using the Trans-Pacific Partnership to backdoor their way in like they always do with the backdooring and the China. They're always trying to do that.
Check your facts, China.
Check your facts. China, check your facts.
I think your Trump impression just delved into Bernie impression.
They are slowly merging. I don't think I've even attempted a Bernie impression, but I guess if I just get the Trump impression to sound a little more like my Jewish uncle, then you should be good to go. But what was I saying about Trump? Oh yeah, he's like, China's gonna backdoor the way into this thing, and Rand's like, yeah, China has nothing to do with this, but thanks for playing, Donald. And that actually got a little bit of I don't know if it got applause. That's the thing. We are all sitting here thinking this is Rand's best debate, having these crazy dreams about how he's going to skyrocket in the polls, and it definitely was his best debate for us. But I don't know if that translates at all in any way, shape, or form to how the general public sees it, how the GOP primary voters see it, which is literally the only thing that matters in this conversation at the end of the day. So, well, I'm
sure Trump supporters hated it. I'm sure they hate. I'm sure.
Facts. They hate facts.
The 30% of people who support Trump hate Rand with a passion, especially because he, started out in the first couple of debates attacking Trump, which I don't think was a very smart move at the time.
And he kind of has laid off that, except for tonight. But he's doing it in a smart way. Anyway, he's not just sort of blindly attacking him as not being a real conservative, which is true, but neither is most of these people on stage, which Rand did point out eventually, which is great. I think he did a great job when he said, this is the most important thing we're going to talk about. Everyone's talking about foreign policy and spending all this money everywhere, and acting like the military is some kind of sacred cow that we can't even examine. We can't even audit. Rand has to audit the Pentagon bill. Let's just look at it. That's all he's saying. Let's look at everything. And then people call him an isolationist. Rubio, he goes, I know Rand Paul's a committed isolationist. It's just nonsense. And it's the kind of stuff that gets me fired up again. It makes me I have flashbacks to the Ron Paul days. I'm like, shut up, Rubio. And then I can't wait for Rand to fire back, which he usually doesn't. But this time he did.
Rand, more like in each debate, he seems to be trending more and more towards Ron. If I'm not crazy.
Good move.
Yeah, like at the beginning, it seemed like he was trying to, straddle the line, try to include more people, and then as his poll numbers continue to suck, he's just like, I'm just going to go this way. Maybe I can't tell if that's actually what he believes, the pretty straight libertarian, or he just, it's a tactical move. But
when we're talking about
what he's saying much more now.
When we're talking about the debt and foreign policy and certain things, I don't think it's even needs to be seen as libertarian per se. It's just rational. It's like, look at the numbers. Like, we cannot have 19, 20 trillion in debt and create all these new programs like Marco Rubio wants to do and create all these, Marco Rubio, I want to repeal and replace Obamacare. He never says what he wants to replace it with. Everybody has an idea to expand things. They just don't say it that way. They say it in a sneaky way. Or Kasich will say, I'm against bailouts, except I'm for some of this kind of sort of bailout things. Almost every candidate has this in their platform. Well, they say they're against this thing, but they kind of have all these but ifs, and all the but ifs add up to more programs, more spending, and Rand's the only one out there saying, this is freaking ridiculous. It's not possible. And you want to talk about keeping us safe. That's what everybody says. Donald wants to keep us safe with a huge wall. And these other guys, they all want to go bomb ISIS and keep us safe with a strong military. But when we're not going to be safe is when we literally can't afford anything because the bankruptcy that we're already in hits the wall, we hit reality, and suddenly everybody's bankrupt, our currency collapses, and now you can't even send one plane out to shoot a missile over Los Angeles and make everyone think aliens are here. Because that's what happened last weekend for those that live in LA, which is just me and Brian, and I know Brian didn't see it because he's sleeping by 6 p.m. on Saturdays.
Are people going to buy that? Unfortunately, I don't see it. I mean, I agree with it, but when he talks about, well, we're going to be bankrupt, how are we going to pay for this?
Well, Jesus, if they don't look at 18 trillion and think that's a problem, I don't know what to tell them, but you're probably right.
I don't know. People are not cheering like they are for when Donald says we need to have the strongest military. We need to build it up. That gets a big cheer, but... Right. How does that get paid?
Yeah, I think that's my point, though, that I'm trying to get to is that, yes, we cheer this stuff on because it makes sense, and we're sort of rational, or we try to be, or we strive to be, and we're like, yeah, Rand makes so much sense here. He's doing so great. And then he gets some cheers when he says this stuff, but then Rubio comes back and goes on a neo-Connie rant about bombing everyone, and that gets the biggest cheer of the night. And then we say, okay, well, shit. Because we realize he's doing much better in terms of the way he's stating his positions, but is this going to translate with GOP voters, American public? Doesn't seem like it, so I don't know what to think, but definitely a better performance by Rand, for sure.
Yep, I agree. I think the neocon slice of the Republican Party is probably just too big to overcome, unfortunately.
I think tonight I would say that Rand and Cruz are the biggest winners, and Kasich and Bush are the biggest losers.
I think that's a good analysis. Anybody else? Well, I would also call Carson a loser, but just like he wants to call ISIS losers as a main strategy, that's going to be my strategy with him. I'm going to call him a loser.
Well, there's so many crazy things he could have said that he didn't. I feel like he got away.
It's sad when we see it as a victory for him just because he doesn't mention trying to stab someone.
I mean, he just did what he does. I didn't see any difference in Carson.
He sleepily talks his way through some nonsense, and next day he's top of the polls. It makes no sense.
People just maybe don't pay attention. They just get lulled to sleep.
See, I can at least see why Trump is like a top of the polls. Like I can get why someone who casually views politics would see Donald Trump as a strong figure, a successful man, a guy who takes seemingly strong positions, even if they don't add up to anything in reality on the stage. But Ben Carson, literally just says nothing. I mean, he says nothing. He has not said anything.
Do you think Trump and Carson supporters argue with each other? And if they do, what do they argue about? I mean,
what policy specifics are they discussing?
I don't even know where to start.
At least Trump did put out a tax plan, he put out a statement on guns. Carson, how about one of the first questions of the debate? Whose plan would God approve? That happened.
Was that a joke question?
I don't think so. I mean, it was to me, but.
Who's going to claim that they know what God's thinking? That's ridiculous.
At least Ben was smart enough to kind of sidestep that, though. He didn't say, well, obviously God loves my plan the best. He just kind of spoke about other things.
Now let me tell you about my grain storage plan. You know how we've been doing silos? Bad idea. Not going to work.
In every state.
Hey, if Trump wants us to build our own Great Wall, maybe Carson should start advocating for pyramids of America.
What about a wall of pyramids? We could store our grain there and keep out all the bad guys.
Or he could have, if the immigrants will help with the pyramids, they can stay.
What about Trump's crazy? That's a good one. A good joke, everybody, not a good policy suggestion.
Yes.
To be clear,
I'm not serious at all ever.
Oh, but it would solve some problems, now wouldn't it? No, just kidding.
Would they pay minimum wage?
Not in Donald Trump's world. I don't think there's any GOP candidates who are openly in favor of minimum wage.
So is pyramid building a starter job?
Yes.
Who was that had starter wages? Was that Carson?
Oh, yeah. He must have had some kind of privileged life. His first job ever was as a lab assistant. Jesus, everyone else I know was like walking dogs, mowing lawns, like delivering papers. Ben Carson just got out of bed and was a lab assistant. Great.
I think mine was caddying.
Yeah, there you go. Rico's was lawyer. First job.
I want to see
first day of work.
I didn't know how he knew anything about golf. I'd love to hear you give
and how to carry bags.
Shot selection.
We need to have a Lions of Liberty golf event.
I've never played golf in my life, and that sounds great.
Sounds awesome. Let's do it.
I have played mini golf though.
We'll do it at the Republican convention when we convene in Cleveland.
Yeah, we got a lot to do next year, guys. We got to go to Freedom Fest. We got to go to the Republican convention. We should probably go to I don't know, what else can we go to? Any excuse, guys. I'm looking forward to get out of town.
WrestleMania.
Already got you there. We already got tickets for that. Okay. I'm open to it. If we can tie it into Liberty, which we can, definitely.
I think there's a lot of Liberty going on there.
Oh, there definitely is.
I'm in.
There's definitely Liberty. All right, guys. Why don't we try to wrap things up with why don't we give since it's going to be a good month till the next debate, why don't we gaze into our Liberty crystal ball and try to look into the future. So why don't we look at the next debate, which, as I mentioned, will be on, I believe, December 15th, over a month away. Thank God. I really need to recharge because I feel like we just had a string of debates recently, and I am one of the few, the strong, the proud, the brave that are going to watch and recap this debate for everybody on Saturday night. So you're welcome. This Democratic debate. It will air on the Lions of Liberty podcast on Monday, a reaction show featuring myself and Brian McWilliams and maybe a couple other guests. So don't say we never did anything for you people, because we are doing that. But let's look forward to this GOP debate coming up in mid-December. Who's going to be on stage? Not just who's going to be on stage, who is going to, how are things going to be seen? Is anything going to change in terms of the rankings? Do you think Trump is still going to be on top? This is a very broad question that you guys all get to ramble on for like 2 or 3 minutes. So who's going to be on top? Who's not going to be there? And will we see any new faces from the kitty debate, or maybe faces that we've seen before getting back up to the main stage? We'll start with Odie.
All right.
My basic question is no question. It's just ramble about what you think is going to happen in the next month.
I'll just make a couple predictions. So a month from now, December 15 or whatever it is, I think Trump will still be the lead. Unfortunately, I do think this. I'm not just hopefully thinking it, but I think Carson is going to start to slide after this debate, no matter what Fox.
So you're going to slide down the side of a pyramid?
He might, a little gravity taking him down the side of a pyramid, something like that. And maybe I'm being optimistic, and maybe I'm have my Liberty goggles on here, looking through this. But I do think Rand will see a little bump after this debate. If not for anything else, he like Rico said, I think he is becoming a little bit more like Ron, a little more feisty in his answers and his comebacks, and with a little bit more libertarian principle behind his answers. I think he will see a little bump, maybe aided by the Liberty movement a little bit, getting behind him. I don't know how far, maybe 4 or 5%. I think Kasich is done. He looks like he came off like a crazed, desperate man tonight. Carly Fiorina, she'll hover where she is in her 3-4%. Chris Christie, so I think he will make a triumphant return, as triumphant as he can be, to the December 15th debate and knock Kasich off the stage. So, and Ted Cruz, Rubio, I think Rubio probably, unfortunately, will see a bounce from this, and Ted Cruz will probably stay where he is. Maybe Rubio gets some of the Carson vote. I don't know.
Damn it, Odie. I think almost exactly the same thing as what you just said.
All right, we will just skip Howie then. No, we won't skip you. But just to recap, so you do think that Kasich out and Christie in next time?
Kasich out, Christie in. I think Christie was already on the rise, like after they capped the timeline for.
They were saying that. I did see that somewhere.
Yeah, he had a video that went viral. Him talking about how we need to help drug addicts and start just putting them in jail.
And he was so good there, but it goes completely, and I saw that. I thought it was great, but it runs totally counter to what he actually says about his policies.
So he had that bump. Then we had the debate tonight. I think he did a great job in the debate. I think he'll be back. And Kasich was just seems like a bitter old man, just desperate, like Odie said. I think he's out. I think Christie's in. I think our top three are going to be Trump, Cruz, and Rubio. Everybody else in the middle.
You think Cruz is gonna rise after this?
I think Rubio and Cruz are gonna rise. For some reason, Trump's not gonna fall that far. He's a wizard. I don't know, but I don't think. I think Carson's going down, but I think Trump's going to hang on to probably the top spot for now, at least for the next month.
All right, Rico, what's your expert legal opinion on these matters?
I wish I had something different to add, but I really don't. I think it's pretty much going to be status quo. I really wasn't following Christie, so I'm surprised to hear that he was trending upward. To me, once you get relegated, you're kind of done for as far as the big stage, but maybe he'll start pulling up. Who's watching the kiddie debates, besides us? Is anyone? I doubt it. So I can't really see a strong showing in that debate really mattering too much.
People might not watch it, but they're going to show clips from it all day tomorrow. Yeah, people will see that. If the media wants to talk up Christie, they will.
Yeah, and I think it's more Kasich was just so bad.
Well, yeah. But I would like to see the debate start getting kind of, some of the candidates starting to get chopped off, and I think it would be nice to see Kasich and Bush gone, and then you just have 6 on the stage. Fiorina can leave too. I mean, I don't see her really doing anything. It's time to start getting down to, some really core candidates. I don't think Rubio and Cruz are going anywhere. Obviously, I think they're going up too. I think Trump's going to lead until after Iowa, and then there's probably going to be something where he starts to combust. I don't think he's going to. Once the primaries start actually happening, I don't see him hanging on. But until then, I think he'll be front runner, and we'll see if Rand can make a little move. As long as he can get in the top 5, I think he can be in it for the long haul, but kind of wait and see how that works out. So that's kind of my hope, is that candidates start to drop.
Yeah, that's the question. Do you think anyone is going to literally drop out, like actually end their campaign?
I think Kasich is the obvious contender for that. Bush probably has too much money, but if his poll numbers get really bad, just save some embarrassment and withdraw like Perry, but I think those would be.
God, I forgot Perry was even involved in this at one point. Man, it's already been a really long campaign season, and we're still over 2 months away from any kind of votes, because the Iowa caucus, I believe, is like the end of January now.
Yeah, I think I read February 1st.
Yeah, but. I mean, we've got a lot of time.
Yeah, and Scott Walker had already dropped out. He was in the audience. So.
And he was one time seen as, that shows you how much can change, though, because guys like Scott Walker and Rick Perry were not that long ago seen as leading, top tier type candidates, and they are gone. And you might say Rand isn't doing great because he's only got 2.5%, but at this point, 2.5 isn't necessarily terrible. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 guys that have really good poll numbers. There's only 2 with great poll numbers, which is Carson and Trump.
I think Scott Walker's he's saving his ammo. If Hillary wins, or Bernie's not going to win. If Hillary wins, then Scott Walker will run in 4 years.
I think you're right. I think he realized it wasn't in the cards for him this year, and get out now before he spends too much time exposing himself in these debates, as like a lot of these other guys do, because I think a lot of these guys, if they stay in it and don't win, are not going to be viable the next time around, because we've already seen your shtick, and we already know that there's nothing to it. And I mean, I don't think there's going to repeat Ben Carson performance coming if he doesn't win it here. At least, God, I hope not. God, he's not going to run for Senate after this, is he? Is he going to stick around politics? I hope he sticks around in the world. Like, I enjoy making fun of Ben Carson. I definitely enjoy that.
Pretty as a twin brother too.
Every other day.
What'd you say?
He has a twin brother?
What?
I made that.
Oh man, if he had a twin brother, that would be the best for like national security, because he could be his twin could be his body double.
Glenn Carson.
Glenn Carson. Man, I wish I had more original thoughts than you guys. I pretty much see the same thing playing out. I want to say Rand is going to rise in the polls. I really want to, because he came across to me very well in this debate. I guess I just don't have the faith. If it's the Ron Paul people out there that have not been convinced by Rand yet, if those people are the reason his polls aren't great, and some of those people come on board, then he could start to tick up. Because I think even Ron Paul had better poll numbers at this point, didn't he? Wasn't he getting not at this point?
Yeah, he was polling like around 10%, I think, at this point, wasn't he?
I mean, he was like getting shockingly good numbers. I mean, shockingly for what we would have expected. And Rand is kind of middling at the bottom but he's hanging in there. And if he gets more Ron, which it seems like he's doing, and I was really impressed that the first 3 debates, he really seemed to sit back, not take charge, accept the fact he wasn't going to get much time. I mean, last debate, I thought he was done. I thought his campaign was over because he didn't seem like he wanted to be there to me. Maybe it was just, he's had his mind on the filibuster that was going to happen the next day, and maybe he just wasn't feeling the debate. He was over the terrible questions by the CNBC moderators, but this debate, he was in it, he was on it, and he was in it to win it, and he was excellent. I mean, Paul Usses all around for this one because he really made great points, and he didn't sit back and let people talk over him. I remember there was one point that Rubio kept trying to talk over him, and Rand kept going, no, I'm going to say this right now. And the fact that Fox Business production team, trust me, I work in television production, I work on live events. When you're going to break, you are going to break. You are on the way. You've told the transmission that you're headed to break. They're about to roll their commercials once you're playing that music. So they were going to break, and somebody relatively high level had to say, no, stay on this. I mean, maybe it's just because it's good TV. I'm not saying that some producer at Fox Business is a secret Rand supporter, but the fact that he commanded that presence, that they felt compelled to not end his question, not end his answer, but stay on him, it's a very good sign about how he was presenting himself and how he came across. Boom. Anybody else got thoughts?
Boom goes the dynamite.
All right. Well, as I mentioned earlier in the show, myself, Mr. Brian McWilliams, I believe our good friend JB Lubin, who we haven't heard from in a while, is going to hopefully join us as well. We are going to watch the Democratic debate this coming Saturday. We are going to record a reaction show to it, and it will air shortly thereafter on Monday morning. We might even get it up on YouTube a little earlier, so be sure to subscribe. How do you say that word again? Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube. It's been a long day, guys. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put a lot of our podcasts up there before they get released to the general public, so it's a good thing to subscribe to. And we will get that Democratic debate reaction show up as soon as possible. And we'll, of course, be live blogging throughout, so join us for that. Do you guys want to join me for a little sign-off? Have you caught on to how I sign off this show yet?
No.
Okay, well, hopefully you'll figure it out. Guys, until next time, until you hear us recapping yet another debate for you, this time a Democratic debate next Monday. Until then, folks, why don't we all just agree to live long and live free.
Bam.
Man, long day.
Like 5.5 hours.
I started watching Republicans speak 5.5 hours ago.
Head of editing and mastering is John Dahmer.
Contact Johnny 50